My name is Jessica. I'm 28 years old and work for a small insurance company. There's around 20 of us that work in the office. Our office was just on one floor in a 4-story building. Different businesses occupy the rest. I really enjoy all the people I work with. Some of my best memories are made during the office parties. Nobody goes crazy or anything, but we have a good time. So I was really looking forward to our Christmas party. I drove there with one of my coworkers, Todd. No office romance there. Just a funny guy that knows that I don't drink and I could drive him safely home. When we arrived, everybody was there dressed in casual attire, but one person stood out. Someone was dressed in a Santa outfit. At first, I couldn't tell who it was. He was wearing a fake beard and everything. I went in for a closer look and discovered it was Marty. Marty didn't actually work in our office. He was the janitor / maintenance man for the entire building. I didn't see him a whole lot. Just from time to time when there was a leak in the bathroom or something needed to be repaired in the break room. Once I realized he was Santa, I said hi and made my way around the rest of the office. When the night was coming to an end, Marty came up to me. He said with a big smile, "Santa's got something for you." I laughed nervously. He then handed me a card in an envelope. It seemed like a nice gesture, but we didn't do any gift exchanges for the party, so I was a little confused. I began to unseal the envelope. He quickly stops me saying, No. Open it when you get home." I could only respond with another nervous laugh and put the card in my purse. As I was driving Todd home, he made a joke about how it looked like Santa had a crush on me. It really didn't dawn on me that Marty might have a thing for me. Maybe I was just naive, but that would make sense. I mean, why else would he give me a card? Or maybe he was just being nice. Now I felt trepidation opening it. Todd and I talked about it some more, and he brought up the fact that Marty would sometimes leer at some of the women in the office. Apparently, one of the women on a different floor issued a formal complaint against him, saying how uncomfortable he made her feel. When we arrived at Todd's place, he begged me to open the card. I was gonna wait until I got home, but with all this talk of Marty being a creep, I wanted to open it with someone. At first, it was just a generic Christmas card, but what he wrote inside gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. I still remember what it said to this day. I will now tell you word for word what Marty wrote. "Come here. Give me a chance to whisper in your ear. A chance is all I need. A chance is why I breathe. We are meant to be. Let's no longer keep our relationship a secret. Let's be free. Remember, I can see you even when you can't see me." My body begins to shake as I read this, especially the last part. There is more in the envelope. There was a total of 10 pictures taken from afar of me. Some when I'm at the grocery store, some when I was out to lunch with my friends, and there was one photo of me at my house. I started to cry uncontrollably. I hand Todd the note and photos. Once he fully grasps the situation, he tells me that I should sleep at his place for the night. I agreed. We went inside immediately and called our boss. Even though the office was closed the next day, he wanted us to come in to meet and discuss this whole situation in person. Once Todd and I showed our boss everything, he quickly had him fired. My boss and Todd both recommended I take steps to get a protection order against Marty. Not only did I do that, I even moved. The fear that someone could be stalking you, following your every move, freaked me out beyond belief. Just after Christmas, before New Year's, I was told when Marty was ordered to remove all his personal belongings from the maintenance office, they found more photos of me at work. They were all pictures of my legs and feet. I don't know if because he had to be discreet that's all he could get a picture without being caught, or he had some type of foot fetish. My protection order expired after 90 days. There was an option to renew, but I didn't feel like I needed to. I heard that he had moved shortly after this incident, and I never heard or saw from him again. It's been 6 years now. I've been able to completely move on from this ordeal. When it comes to stalking cases, I think I had it fairly easy. Some go through years of paranoia looking over their shoulder. I'm very grateful that I was one of the lucky ones. My hometown has a Christmas parade every year, and this time my oldest sister was going to be part of it. She was one of the baton twirlers. I was only 8 years old and thought it was really cool that I would see her being part of the show. My parents weren't able to go, so I went with my grandma. She wasn't the most mobile woman, so when we arrived, she set up her lawn chair in the front of the rope line and sat down. I stood next to her, waiting to see my sister. I waited for what seemed forever. I was getting impatient. I didn't care about anything in the parade except for my sister. Then finally, I see her marching down, twirling her baton. It was so cool. I wanted to be part of the parade someday. But as quickly as she arrived, she passed my grandma and I. I told my grandma let's follow her. I wanted to see more. She said no because of her bad hip and wanted to see the rest of the parade. This made me angry. I only wanted to see my sister. After 5 minutes of just standing there, I took off to catch up with my sister. I dodged all the people in the busy crowd, making my way down the street. I finally caught up with her and followed along with her for 10 minutes. I then stopped and wondered where I was now. This was a part of town I was not familiar with. I knew what direction I came from, but don't remember what was nearby. With all these strangers around, I started to get worried. With my worried face and looking around, not knowing where to go, a man approaches me and asks, "Are you looking for someone?" "Yes, my grandma," I said. He tells me, "I know where she is. Follow me." As a trusting 8-year-old, I did. He was a typical looking man, mid-40s, and didn't look scary. I remember walking next to him. I said, "Oh, I think it's this way," and I started to veer in a different direction. He then grabs the back of my jacket and says, "No, this way." That's the moment I felt I could be in danger. The tight grip he had made me feel powerless, and I couldn't go anywhere. I was scared, too scared to say anything or make a run for it. He takes me in the direction of the parking lot. I asked, "Is my grandma over there?" He looked down at me and smiled with a devious grin. I knew that this man was going to do something. The unsure look on my face from before has now turned to fear. I know this because of what happened next. As we were walking towards the parking lot, there was a family leaving their car, just arriving to the parade. A mom, dad, and 2 kids. The look on my face set this mom's alarm bells off. She walked right up to me and asked, "Are you okay?" Before I could get a word out, the man still holding onto my jacket says, "She's fine, mind your business." The lady steps in front of us and asks me again, "Are you okay?" I was welling up in tears at this point, and in a burst of courage, I slid both of my arms out of my jacket and ran into this woman's arms. The father now steps in front of the man, telling him, "You're not going anywhere until we figure this out." I explain to them that I've been abducted. The dad tells his 2 boys to run and tell one of the officers that were supervising the parade. The man that took me tries to escape, but the dad was way stronger than him and pins him to the ground. The mom consoles me as I'm bawling my eyes out. She asks if there's someone she can call. My grandma didn't have a cell phone, so I gave her my dad's number. 2 officers from the parade come running over to detain the man. Soon, both of my parents arrive, worried out of their minds. We later went to the police station to make an official statement. Honestly, as an 8-year-old, that was one of the hardest parts for me. Telling my story was like reliving it all over again. I cried the whole time. The man was arrested for attempted kidnapping and was given a lengthy sentence. My family later met up with the family that saved my life. I remember seeing my mom hugging and crying in the other mom's arms, thanking her to no end. It was exactly what I did when I slipped out of my jacket. If she didn't have the instincts to step in at that moment, there's no telling what would have happened to me. My name is Ada. I'm 33 years old, and this happened 6 years ago on Christmas Eve. I had recently inherited a house when my aunt died. Once I moved in, I realized how much work needed to be done. It was a relatively old house and in need of repairs, the biggest being the roof. Since that seemed to be the most important, I chose that first. I hired a local company to come and basically replace the whole thing. They came out on the 23rd and said the job would take a few days. It wouldn't be done until after Christmas because they won't be working on the 24th and 25th. There were 3 guys on the job. I only spoke with Mark, the owner, a very nice guy whom I was referred to by a friend. They worked until sundown, and Mark said they would be back on the 26th to finish up. I noticed that they left a bunch of tools and equipment behind. There was an area in the back that was undercover, where nothing would get damaged. I don't know if that was standard protocol or not, but I didn't mind. Later that night, my fiance at the time, Darren, and I were relaxing in the living room watching TV. I remember it being a cold, clear night. I looked up and can see a perfect view of the moon through our skylight. Darren went to bed before me as usual. I normally wouldn't go to sleep until 3 a.m. Plus, I needed time to wrap all the Christmas presents. Sometime after 1, I thought I heard noises coming from on top of the roof. In my head, I made a joke about it being Santa, but I just attributed it to the TV or something since it was on in the background. I continued to wrap the presents and heard it again. It was like a shuffling noise, and again it sounded like it was right above me. I walked over to the bedroom to ask Darren if he could check it out, but I could hear him snoring through the bedroom door. I didn't want to wake him from a deep sleep, especially if it turned out to be nothing. I went back to the living room to finish with the presents. I didn't hear anything for 20 minutes or so, and as I was finishing up with the last present, I heard shuffling noise again. I looked directly up at the skylight, and there, I see a man on the roof looking directly at me through the skylight, a dark figure with his hands up on the side of his head and his face pressed up against the glass. I scream at the top of my lungs and run to Darren. He jumps out of bed before I reach the bedroom. I tell him there's a man on the roof peeping on me through the skylight. Darren grabs a nearby baseball bat and tells me to call the cops. He goes outside while I'm talking to 911. Darren spots the guy as he was trying to hide. He yells at him to get down and that the cops are on their way. Just before the police arrive, the man on the roof comes towards the edge near Darren and says that he's just working on the roof. I shined a flashlight on him and recognized him from earlier in the day as one of the workers. Darren says, "Yeah, right, you're working at 1 a.m? You were perving on my wife." Police then arrive, and the guy tells them the same story. They didn't buy it either. I called Mark, and after 4 tries, he picks up, and I explained to him what's going on. He was as horrified as I was. After police take the man away for trespassing, Mark shows up and apologizes, saying how awful he feels. He explained he just started his company and had a hard time finding anyone that knew roofing, but would never knowingly hire someone like this. There were tools left on the roof. It looks like this guy used the cover of working on the roof as an excuse to be peeping on me. After all the dust settled down, I did too. I didn't put much blame on Mark. He was genuinely a nice guy. Just the initial reaction of seeing someone staring at me scared me to no end. Mark obviously fired the guy. He came over later and finished my roof for half the price, an apology I gladly accepted. I can laugh at this whole situation now, but I'm always reminded of it every Christmas.